Do I think it's just an amazingly serendipitous coincidence that these bombshell revelations about Joe Biden's mishandling of top secret documents started dropping the very next day after all the rumors were saying that Joe has decided to run again and is imminently going to make his announcement? No, I do not. I think what we're probably seeing here is the opening salvos of the effort to ensure that Mrs. Biden's little boy doesn't have his name anywhere near the ballot in 2024. Because think about where these stories have been breaking. The first was CBS News, and the second one today was NBC News. Regime media, in other words. So those stories don't break because the intrepid journalists at CBS and NBC are engaged in a relentless pursuit of truth and journalistic rigor. They break because somebody inside the executive branch, possibly inside the White House itself, decided to leak the information on this day of all days when the actual discovery was made back in the first week of November. I predicted a couple months ago that 2023 would be the year Joe Biden learns to get used to tire marks across his chest. And in light of these events, I stand by the prediction. Everybody knows, well, except Joe Biden maybe, that the Democrats cannot put Joe Biden's semi-animated cadaver on the ballot for a second time. The first time, that was a very closely run thing. It took an all-hands-on-deck effort from the deep state, the fake news media, and especially the big tech oligarchs, all heaving on the bowline together to drag this old bastard across the finish line in 2020. And you just can't thread that needle twice, not with everything we know now about the naked collusion between agents of the government and the middle managers at Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere, who were all too happy to accommodate the banhammer requests that they got from the FBI and various other agencies. Moreover, unless you get your boy Fauci to cook up another Chinese bioweapon, allegedly, you can't hide Biden in the basement and do another fake campaign this time. He's going to have to travel the country extensively every day. He's going to have to give long speeches to large crowds. And on top of all that, he's going to have to continue pretending to be the president. So Biden at the top of the ticket in 2024 is a non-starter because he can't do any of that. But how do you get rid of him if he doesn't want to leave? Which he doesn't. Make no mistake, when a man spends the first 78 years of his life only wanting one thing and then he gets it, he's not going to relinquish it until he is dragged away kicking and screaming, or kicking and mumbling, as the case may be. So the idea that Joe was going to gracefully bow out after one term on the grounds of advanced age and infirmity, that was always pie in the sky. People as vain and narcissistic as Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. don't walk away from power unless they are compelled to walk away from it. So now they've got a problem, the Democrats do. We need to move the old guy aside, but he doesn't want to go. And I assume if things are being leaked now that point potentially to criminal malfeasance on his part, that means the ultimatum has already been put to him. In all likelihood, the ultimatum that says, all right, Joe, we need you to pump the brakes on this re-election talk. Or there's the possibility that there may be some fairly damaging revelations regarding your past conduct. Just a guess. And if the leaks are happening now in pro-regime news outlets, well, that means he rejected the ultimatum. So what happens next? I have no idea, and I am unprepared to hazard a guess at this point. I just know it's going to be hugely entertaining, and I look very much forward to it. Also, a quick word about presidential think tanks and foundations and what have you. Let's call things what they are. These things are very, very thinly veiled money laundering schemes. You think Barack Obama could afford an estate on Martha's Vineyard when he left the White House? Me either. But he sure could afford one by 2018, despite not having a job in the intervening 2 years. It's a pretty good racket if you can get into it. To have your personal net worth increase by an order of magnitude or more through 2 years of unemployment? You think Bill and Hillary Clinton were fabulously wealthy when they left the White House? They stole the freaking China, for Christ's sake! You think the entire Biden family became multi-millionaires on Joe's Senate salary? Me either. The moral of the story being, if you were prominent enough in national politics to be in the foundation think tank club, then to all intents and purposes, it's like purchasing the winning Powerball ticket. You can basically collect unlimited amounts of cash from anybody you like, and if the check is made out to the foundation or the think tank and doesn't have your name on it, And you're home free in terms of accountability. It's the greatest money laundering scheme, really, since Al Capone went into the construction business. So it will come as no surprise to anybody that the largest donor to the tune of $54.9 million in the 5-year existence of the Biden Center for International Malarkey and Hair Sniffing at the University of Pennsylvania is some fellow named Anonymous Chinese Donor. I've never heard of the guy personally, but then I guess all Chinese names sound alike anyway, right? From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where we can't help wondering why the diversity and inclusion activists never complain about too many Chinamen in China. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the program. I am your eponymous host and humble servant. And following on from Monday's opening segment, in which we talked of California's brave and bold decision to criminalize those insidious handmaidens of white supremacy known as menthol cigarettes, I received a request to do a main segment on all the wacky and zany California laws that are coming into effect this year, and there's never any shortage, believe me, and I thought it was a rather splendid idea, so that is what we're going to do. There are 22 of these in total, which is about half as many as last year, for whatever that's worth. And I think the best way to do it is to take them in ascending order of absurdity. And if you find yourself thinking at any point, wow, there seems to be a real theme here of making life easier for criminals, believe me when I say you are not alone in that assessment. So without further ado, number 22, oil drilling boundaries. SB 1137 establishes setbacks for new oil drilling near residential areas. So when the evil oil company sets up a derrick right in the middle of your neighborhood, you can have them removed. And if you're thinking, wait, isn't this already covered by normal everyday zoning laws? Then you might be a reasonable person. Number 21, housing. AB 2011 aims to boost housing production and affordability by turning unused retail spaces into homes and communities. In other words, we have run out of places to stick all the hobos and migrants, so now we're going to put them up in your vacant residential space. Commercial space, I mean. Congratulations, aren't you happy? Number 20, food packaging. AB 1200 bans the sale, distribution, or offering of any food package that contains, Jesus Christ, perfluoroalkyl or perfluoroalkyl substances, also known as PFAs. I have no idea what that one is, but I'm sure it will save countless lives and not create a whole and new unnecessary regulatory burden on any business owners, because California would never do a thing like that. Number 19, mental health. SB 1338, also known as Care Court, will launch new judicial branches in 6 California counties which would provide court-ordered mental health care to severely mentally ill, unhoused people. Because we can't do that with the laws that exist already. We have to expand the government and make a whole new bureaucracy. Of course we do. Come on. Number 18, rap lyrics in court. AB 2799 limits the use of creative expression such as rap lyrics as evidence in criminal cases. In other words, if you make a rap song called "I'ma murder my ex-wife" and then you murder your ex-wife, the lyrics are inadmissible as evidence because racism. Number 17, pay transparency. SB 1162 requires employees to make salary ranges for available job positions to applicants and employees and, wait for it, creates new pay data reporting requirements based on gender and race. So in order to complete the form in the manner prescribed by law, you have to interrogate your employees about their racial heritage, which is so very, very progressive. Number 16, fur. AB 44 bans the sale and manufacturing of new fur clothes and accessories. So if your fondest dream in life is to go to California and wear a mink coat while smoking a menthol cigarette, I regret to report your dream is dead. Unless it's a used mink coat, then you're probably fine, as long as nobody catches you with the menthol. Number 15, sealed convictions. SB 731 allows most convictions on nonviolent or non-sex-related offenses in criminal records to be permanently sealed. It applies to previous convictions of those who completed their sentence and did not return to the criminal justice system. This one doesn't sound all that objectionable on its surface until you consider that the list of crimes California has declared nonviolent within the last 5 years includes things like domestic violence and rape of an unconscious person. Because what? If you stayed asleep, you must have been enjoying it? Is that how that works? So progressive! You were probably asking for it anyway, you trollop. Number 14, farm worker unionization. AB 2183 makes it easier for farm workers in California to unionize. And here I thought Cesar Chavez did that 50 years ago. Oh, but Cesar Chavez had a fatal flaw. He did not sparkly heart illegal aliens. He said he was only speaking for lawful immigrants, and we cannot have that, which is why you don't hear Cesar Chavez's name all that much anymore. Number 13, minimum wage. SB 3 has now raised California's minimum wage to $15.50 per hour, and there are thousands of former California business owners who can tell you that wasn't even in the top 3 reasons why they fled screaming from the state. Number 12, paid family leave. SB 951 increases the share of paid family leave provided to lower income residents. And, all right, whatever. I'm not a big fan of inventing reasons for people not to go to work. What do you want me to say? Most people get a perfectly reasonable, often an extravagant number of paid days off per year. If we make ourselves into Europe, where every idiot gets a 6-week frickin' holiday every year, we will regret it, just as they are now starting to. Number 11, rape kits. SB 1228 prohibits law enforcement agencies from using the DNA collected from a sexual assault victim from being used in the investigation of an unrelated crime. Now, the way I read this one is that you're no longer allowed to use your best available scientific evidence to identify a serial rapist. Well done, California. So brave, so moral. Number 10, fast food workers. AB 257 creates a state council, yay, government expansion, to bargain wages and working conditions on behalf of the 500,000 fast food workers in the state. And the only way I can support this is if it includes the noble Slurpista at 7-Eleven. They shouldn't have to form a separate Slurpista union, because that's a bunch of segregationist bullshit. Number 9, immigration status in court. SB 836 prohibits disclosure of a person's immigration status in open court in a criminal case by any party unless approved by a judge. Speech codes in the courtroom. I'm sure that one's going to pass judicial review with flying colors. Nope, no constitutional issues here. Please move along. Number 8, guns. AB 1594 allows the state attorney general, local prosecutors, and anyone who suffered harm as a result of gun violence in California to sue firearm manufacturers. In other words, if a dude tries to hold up your liquor store and you dispossess him of his revolver and incapacitate him by pistol whipping him into submission, he can then sue Samuel B. Colt Incorporated for $700 million. Number 7, pink tax. Can't believe I only gave this one number 7. AB 1287 prohibits gender-based pricing on products based on who they are marketed toward. And what a tortured bit of syntax that is. Please don't think I wrote that embarrassing piece of shit sentence, because I didn't. So now you're banned by law from charging more for women's shaving cream than you do for men's shaving cream. And again, I think I underrated that one at number 7. Number 6, retail theft. AB 1700 sets up a section on the state attorney general's website to report stolen items. In other words, in the bold new post-police world of the future, don't bother calling the cops when your house gets robbed. We've got a website for that now. Just submit your request, and a rapid response social worker will be right with you in approximately 7 to 9 weeks. Number 5, jaywalking. AB 2147 allows pedestrians to jaywalk or cross the street outside of an intersection without being ticketed, as long as the crossing is done when it is safe to do so. And 5 years from today, there will be a headline saying, pedestrian fatalities up 300%, authorities baffled. Great work again, California, don't you ever change. Oh, this one was because of racism too. Because jaywalking tickets, much like menthol cigarettes, disproportionately impact the black community. Therefore, jaywalking is racist, just like Newport's. Number 4, free prison phone calls. SB 1008 provides free phone calls to people detained in California prisons and jails. Which means those heady old days of picking up the phone and hearing, you have a collect call from the county jail. Press 1 if you accept. Those days are now over. Please make a note of it. Number 3, getting into the big ones now. Gender-affirming care. SB 107 protects transgender people seeking health care, including youth and their parents, from legal action from states with bans and restrictions. And I wonder if our man Gavin is going to put up highway billboards for this one like he did for the abortion law. Need to get your son's testicles hacked off and don't know where to turn? Come to Gavin's by the Sea, where your sex organs check in, but they don't check out. Number 2, abortion. AB 2091 protects medical records and cooperation with out-of-state entities regarding abortion restrictions. whatever that means, and AB 1242 and 1375 expand abortion training options and providers and protections for people from criminal or civil liabilities for pregnancy loss or abortion. And it's tough when you've already made abortion as 100% legal as a thing can conceivably be, but the abortion industry bulldog still needs to be fed, so you have to keep passing laws to the point where their contents become pretty much incomprehensible. But it doesn't matter, because it's pro-abortion, and abortion is awesome. Jim Eagle, can I get a fucking drum roll for the winner here? It's okay to pretend like we run a first-class operation. Number one on the list, the winner of the big horse race is COVID-19, ladies and gentlemen. Come on down, COVID. You look great, even for a 4-year-old. AB 2963 requires workplaces to continue providing employees with COVID-19 exposure notifications until 2024. But that's not the bit that earned this law the gold medal, though it is impressive to be sure, because there's a fun little codicil on this thing called AB 2098 that makes it easier for the California Medical Board to punish doctors who spread something called COVID-19 misinformation. So the California Democrats, having run out of new frontiers to conquer, have now insinuated themselves directly into the middle of the doctor-patient relationship. Speech codes for doctors. Isn't that awesome? Your doctor can still say anything he wants to you as long as it comports with the community guidelines on Facebook and YouTube. We are just trying to stop misinformation, guys. Sometimes following the science means you have to throw certain scientists in jail for having the wrong opinions. It's a thing that happens sometimes in science. But trust us, it's all very scientific. Far too scientific for an unwashed rabble like this audience to ever understand. So let that be a lesson to you. You want to practice medicine in California? Oh, that's just fine. Just as long as we see that Tony Fauci prayer candle burning in your front window each night, we won't have any problems at all. But Doc, it sure would be a shame if you told a patient something you weren't supposed to about the vaccine for that China virus, because it's the law, you know. I guess it's arguable whether I should have given the top spot to a law that's so obviously going to get laughed out of the courtroom within 5 seconds of being exposed to judicial review, but I guess I've already gone and done it, so I stand behind it and I submit myself to whatever consequences the audience deems just. Thank you very much indeed for watching. See you next time. Do not comply. Get off my lawn.